Jamano Money Transfer Bureau de Change, your go-to option when it comes to money transfer. With Jamano, you can send money from anywhere in the world to your family and loved ones in the Gambia and be sure the funds will be delivered to them within the shortest time possible. For your convenience, funds sent through Jamano Money Transfer can be picked from all the banks and multiple other financial institutions, including Ajib Bank, Trust Bank, GT Bank, Mega Bank, Basic Bank, Reliance Financial Services, and Approved Services. Visit our head office at Bruceby opposite AfricMed next to Trust Bank Limited or email us at info@jamanomt.com. You can as well call us on 310-3050 or 310-3051 or yet still 733-0688. Our opening hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday and 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. Jamano Money Transfer, your most trusted money transfer service where customer satisfaction is paramount. When you think of a simple, fast, and reliable money transfer, think Jamano Money Transfer.
Agada.
Mbijan aganya.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la.
Ha, code nyingi.
Okay. Korsa. Nsila ID soto.
Ah, that's what. Sorry. Agada.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara Allah service o tariya.
Ah,
mbare ki janna nun kunu bara tariya.
Ah, jannom yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbari ya bere. Ha. Birim koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato ni fo bolong blabe to.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jam.
Ha?
Ha. Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nko kodo kiya bere to. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta même na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw. Jannom number 1 di nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale le dadi man domorol dil fana beteat. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Ha wo mo yo diat ha.
Apelenta
baraka ba. Ni ma lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalo bu kanyi la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Abaraka.
Islamic microfinance is becoming an increasingly popular mechanism for poverty alleviation, especially for developing countries around the world. This microfinance service adheres to the principles of Islam as a form of social responsibility. Yona Islamic Microfinance is the Islamic microfinance of choice in the Gambia, trustworthy and reliable. At Yona Islamic Microfinance, we provide savings products, current accounts, financing products in conformity with Islam. In addition, Yona Islamic Microfinance also offers local and international remittances, takaful fund, management of zakat, management of awqaf, trading and investment, and building of strategic partnerships to bring financial services to the doorstep of the poor with donor projects, madrasas, youth organizations, women groups, and farmer organizations. Make a choice with Yona Islamic Microfinance today. For more information on Yona Islamic Microfinance, call 377-2151 or 9832-151 or visit Yona head office at Tipa Garage, Bakote, or visit any Yona branch located countrywide near you.
Hello and welcome to the Brunch on Kerfatu Live. I am Lamin Cham, and this is our weekly look at events that dominated the news over the past 7 days. Today I have a big privilege in welcoming the Honorable Suwaibou Touray. He is the National Assembly member for Wooli East and a member of several select committees in the National Assembly, including, of course, the Pan-African delegation of the Gambian Parliament to the Pan-African Parliament. Mr. Touray has a vast experience in parliamentary matters and had been with the People's Democratic Organization for Independence and Socialism, DOI. Through his ticket, he got elected to where he is now. As a senior member of the National Assembly, and one who, which I said, one of the most respected, today I want his reflections on some of the issues that have happened both in legislative sessions as well as general matters of the country over the last week or so. The Honorable Suwaibou Touray, welcome to the Brunch.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you very much.
You.
Well, since this is your first appearance on the Brunch, we will go to tradition. And our tradition is that we would like you to briefly touch on your biography. The Honorable Suwaibou Touray comes from Wooli East. Which village?
Yes, I hail from Sutukoba village. It's the same village that C.D. Jata hailed from. In Wooli East, it's second largest community in Wooli East. That's where I hailed from.
Where's the biggest?
The biggest is Bajakunda.
Oh, Bajakunda.
Yeah, by population.
Okay. And you went through schooling where?
I went to Sutukoba Primary School in 1962.
Okay.
And then after Sutukoba, I went to St. George's Junior Secondary School.
In Basse?
In Basse. You'll be interested to know I completed St. George's in 1974-75.
Wow.
I also joined a government program between Gambia and Canada, which is called Canada World Youth Exchange Program, Cultural Exchange Program. That was a 1-year program, 5 months there, 5 months here. We go there and they also come here. And
to Canada?
Yes, to Canada.
Okay.
And then that was my first engagement after junior secondary school. Then I also taught in Busra Primary School, Busra Combo, behind Birkama for 1 year. But you know, in those years, in the 1970s, you have very few high schools in the Gambia.
I remember that.
I think it's just about 2 or 3, not more than that.
Then Nusrat came in 75.
Yeah.
I think that's where you went.
Nusrat came at the time. This is after.
Yeah.
Nusrat came after this period.
After, yeah.
Then 1 year teaching in primary 3 in the school. And then after that, I went to Canada again for my high school because I made some very good friends there.
Okay.
Who decided that they need to support me to complete my high school. Okay. So I went to Canada to a provincial school. It's called Vernon in British Columbia. You know Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver.
It's their capital.
Yeah.
So had a 2-year program in high school. And when I came back here, I sat to the A-level exams because what I did there is equivalent to GCE. O-level. But when I came here, I took a private exam for A-level. A-level. And then after that, I went back to teaching. In Ndungukebe.
Oh, I knew.
I had 1 year teaching in Ndungukebe. And then at that time, you have to go through an exam to go to college. Yundum College.
Exactly.
So I sat to the exam and then passed and went to Yundum College. I was together there with Madi Sise, Honorable Madi Sise. Yes, and Honorable Barrow was also there. KK Barrow was also my teacher. It's my classmate, and so on and so forth.
Right.
So we had 2 years there. Okay. And then in our 3rd year, we had a strike, a demonstration.
Oh, I heard about that famous
yes, that is the 1979-80. Yes, we had a demonstration there, and that was a commission of inquiry that was set up. and led by Fafumbai.
Oh, the late Fafumbai.
Late Fafumbai. And then they recommended that the government remove all those students, over 380 students
who were involved in the strike.
Were involved in that strike. Were expelled.
My God.
So I had to I enrolled again at Action Aid School.
So you were among those expelled.
Yes, among those expelled.
Okay.
And Mahdi and Co were our leaders. But they were on teaching. They were teaching practice.
They were on teaching practice.
So we felt that if our elders were there, they would not accept, because we've been trying to demonstrate for a long time, and they were resisting. But when they went, we decided to organize to demonstrate. So the college was closed, and then all the students were relieved of that school. And then I went to Sanunding to teach for Action Aid for 1.5 years. And then I went from there I traveled to Libya. I did some work, 1 year in Libya. And then I come back again. And then I also sat to another exam for the Peace Corps.
Yes.
Peace Corps volunteers used to come.
Yes.
And they need to be taught in Mandinka, in Wolof, and the Gambian culture.
I used to know one Cisse.
Exactly.
From Jara Barokunda, I forgot the name. Sorry about
Yes, it's Ali Cisse.
Ali Cisse.
It's my colleague.
He used to be in the Peace Corps.
Yes, I know you since then.
Okay.
And then I was language instructor in Mandinka, and then worked for them for another 2 years. And then I was elevated to the position of coordinator, culture coordinator for Peace Corps. But then I resigned from there and then joined the PDOIS in 1986.
So you were the pioneering members.
Yes, pioneering members.
Yeah.
PDOIS was established, I think they wrote about 2 or 3 articles before I came.
Yes.
So when I read the articles, because I had already gone through socialist articles, socialist training somehow.
Applications.
You were
that time,
exactly.
You were communist oriented.
Yeah, when I was in Canada, not communist, but when I was in Canada, there was this party, they called them National Democratic Party, NDP. It was led by Edward Broadbent.
Yeah.
And I admired him a lot when he's giving his speeches. So I followed that party in Canada.
Yeah.
And that's why I built my inspiration. And so when I see a socialist party in Gambia, so it was natural that this is the party that I should now collaborate.
Especially with the involvement of a senior member from your community.
Exactly. So that's how I joined the PDOIS, and then I served as a journalist for many years for the PDOIS, for Foreign newspaper. That time it was the organ of PDOIS, but by 1994 we separated the two because of a court order, and then I continued to work for the Foreign at the same time work for the party as well as an activist. And by 2016, however, in 1992, I participated in an election. I stood in Wooli West.
Okay.
While Syria stood in Wooli East.
Wooli East.
That time you have the Malang and Fode, Kebe and others. Yes. They stood, together. We are against each other. So I could remember I received 170 votes.
That was 92 parliament.
That was 1992 parliament
elections. Yeah.
Yes. So by 2016, we had this coalition. I think you know all about that. Yes. And then after 2017 presidency election, I stood in Wooli East for 2017 as a candidate, which I won. And up to today, I'm the serving MP for Wooli East.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting journey.
It's a long journey.
It's a long journey. Yeah. Interesting, impressive. Now, since you became National Assembly member, tell us a little bit about Wooli, because when I was very young, what I heard about Wooli, I think it used to be one. There were Seni Singate, and then it's Malandavo?
Malan Saho.
Malan Saho.
Yeah.
It used to be one constituency.
Yeah.
How did it come to be two?
Yeah. Well, before the 1994 coup, it was two.
It had been two even on the Jawara.
It was two on the Jawara.
Wooli East
and Wooli East, but it was one district.
The chieftaincy was only
The chieftaincy is only one.
But there are two parliamentary
But there are two constituencies. So after the coup, 1997 constitution, they changed the whole scenario again and said they did some gerrymandering and said a constituency now.
Gerrymandering.
Yes, I call it gerrymandering because it is put in such a way to their liking,
I see.
which is comfortable for them.
Yes.
That's what you call. You feel that
is Jammeh regime.
That's Jammeh regime, and then they constituted into one constituency, one district. Because they say one district will be one constituency. A district will be a constituency. That's how Janjambure become a constituency. A village becomes a constituency, because of that policy.
Is it not the same way it did with the Fonis also?
The same thing with the Fonis. A district becomes a constituency, and up to now, a district is a constituency. Even though they are small, at that time, some of the Foni constituencies will just have 1,000 something votes. But yet still, they become.
The whole idea was, okay, each chieftaincy should be a constituency. Since you had only one chieftaincy in Wooli, they said it should be one constituency.
One constituency.
But how did it come? So most of the time on the Jammeh it was one.
No, up to when the first election was done in 1997, which was won by Syria, Honorable Syria Jata. In the next subsequent election, 2002, they created another district. Yes, to make it two districts for Wooli, so that it can become two constituencies.
So that Syria can only contest in one.
Yes, and in the 1997 elections, Syria defeated the APRC by 7 votes in the Wooli East. If you just tabulate the Wooli East separately.
What used to be Wooli East?
Yes.
When they said it should be all one constituency.
Yes.
Syria won again, but in that area
but only by 7 votes.
Only 7 in that area.
I think it's 7 or 9 votes, not more than that.
All right.
But on the Wooli West side, he defeated them by over 1,000. So it is my belief that another gerrymandering has come again, say, okay, let's divide it into two constituencies, so that Syria will stand in the Wooli West, Wooli East.
Where they knew.
Where he only defeated us by 7 votes. So that when we go into an election this time, we are likely to defeat him.
I see. So
because the biggest village in Wooli is at that time Sakunda, which had over 1,500 votes, is on the side of the APRs. So, but then Syria also did his calculation and decided to go and stand in the Wooli West.
So Syria,
because Wooli West and Wooli East are all equal for Syria. Because they have a compound. They have a compound in Sutukonding, which is in Wooli West, and they also have a compound in Wooli East, which is in Sutukoba. It's their compound in Sutukoba which come to to come and make what they call a working farm in Sutukonding until eventually they settle there. So it's equal to him wherever he wants to stand. He has a home in both places.
So he had been in a cat and mouse game with the APR.
Exactly like that.
So they said when they knew that he won the constituency, when they wanted it to be one constituency, he won.
Yes.
But the area that he did not, did well. Yes. They said, well, now we are going to. Perhaps we will win here if we split into two.
Exactly.
The Syria knew the strategy.
Yes.
So instead of standing where he used to contest, he moved to the...
Exactly. He moved to the next one. And then, the 2002 elections, they put up a candidate. It's called Mamadi Kalle Jabai.
Oh, Mamadi Jabai.
That we put up. But then he was defeated, narrowly defeated. And he defeated the APRC in almost all the other places. But when they get to Sakunda,
that's where
they overtaken him. And then they defeated him by something like 800 votes.
I see.
So up to 2017, the APRC has been winning the Wooli East. Even though there used to be a lot of tussle there.
So with the advent of the new regime, the new dispensation, both you and Syria won in 2017.
Yes.
But in 2022, Syria lost.
In 2022, In 2022, Syria lost. Syria
you
lost.
maintain yours.
Yes.
Syria lost.
Yes.
What do you blame for? What do you blame for that?
Well, there are several factors. But key among them is that CDA's main base in Wooli East is in the Nyakwe area. There is an area which is closer to Basse.
Yeah.
There is a
cluster of villages called Nyakwe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A cluster of villages called Nyakwe.
Yeah.
That is his main base. You understand? But in this 2022 elections, you have the UDP that put up a lady who is also from that community. And then the NPP also put up a candidate in that same constituency, but not from that area. But you know, as incumbent, you know that incumbents always maneuver their way. Yeah. But then you also have my party, meritocracy. Yeah. How do you call their party? GMC. That also was there. So which is also from that same community. You understand? So and when it comes to ethnicity and language and lineages. Yes. And then, you know, caste system, all these things play. You know, whether you like it or not, people use all these things. So Nyakwe was almost evenly divided among the four candidates. Because the ruling party had their share of almost 1,000 votes. Even though CDA defeated all of them there, but then they all got their share. And that really reduced CDA's
it looks like. Yes. Okay, CDA won the single largest amount of votes there.
Yes.
But then, of course, this because the vote splits into all these three.
All these three.
The NPP won. And
what he lost, for example, if he should have got something like 3,000 votes.
Yeah.
In that area. You know, he ended up getting only 1,000 something.
Oh, and that didn't help the other area.
And then when they went to the hinterland of that constituency, the other ward, which is called Sakunda, you know, the ethnicity they play. Because the main ethnicity in that area is Pular. And then the NPP candidates is Pular.
Okay.
You understand? So and that played out. And of course, inducement also played out. You know that ruling parties like to play.
Yeah, that's right.
They have a lot of money. They don't know what to do with money. So they keep on giving money to people when it comes to elections.
Yeah, I remember Syria blamed what he called patronage, political patronage.
It's patronage. Patronage is there because, you know, patronage and inducement are different.
Okay.
Patronage is a situation occurred which shows that, you know, there should be a chief installed in this district at that time, because the chief there, I think, has passed away. You know, so when he passed away, they entrust the chieftaincy to somebody, but they did not appoint him. They call it entrustment.
Okay.
You know, so they did not. They refused to appoint a chief until after the elections. So you have a lot of. You know, our local people also, that is the only position and alcalocip that they vie for. So you have almost 9, you know, influential elders, you know, in different communities that vie for that. So what they have done is that they told them, well, you have to fight for us until we win this seat first.
The government played how to call it.
That's what you call patronage. We will only give you this seat, this position when you support us. So even the traditional places like Taibatu, you know, other places where Syria used to win massively, you know, this time around it eroded. You know, because of those influences.
Because of those strategic played.
Exactly. So these are all the things that played out until Syria lost this.
I see. So the NPP used government machinery and strong arm tactics.
Exactly.
You know, to
inducement is there, but patronage also
plays too.
And promises of, you know, giving you the chieftaincy to 9 people, and they all fight tooth and nail to ensure that
the NPP wins there.
Exactly. That's what played out. Nothing else but that.
I know.
Yeah.
That is politics for you.
Especially
here, incumbency.
Exactly.
All right, so that really left you as only doing member of parliament now to continue to propagate the idea of PDOIs in Wooli.
Yeah, in Wooli, yes.
I'm talking about Wooli.
Yes.
There's also
in Wooli, I'm the sole person there.
Yeah. Are you confident that you can regain or re-establish the control for DOI in the whole of Wooli now that all these factors maybe have failed? Maybe some of them have been disappointed by the very people who might have, you know, try to get on board through those promises?
Yes, I think what has happened is that the dust has now settled, and who should become chief became chief, and everybody knows your position now, and it is after that the people begin to realize what they have lost.
Yeah.
By not electing CDA. And by electing the person they have elected. Because the person they have elected is not versatile in parliament. It's not, I don't want to say those things, but
yes.
it's not what they saw in CDA.
Something Sabali.
Yes, Sabali. Yes. It's not what they saw in CDA. Being versatile in parliament, and then the support
of course
that he gives back to the community.
Yeah.
All these things have been missing.
And the statements.
Yes, and the statements and so on and so forth. So all those things that about a good parliamentarian has been missed. And now the people are reflecting now, and they are regretting why they have done what they have done. But they have done already what they have done. You understand? Okay. So I believe that when the time comes again,
yes,
we should be able to regain what we have lost in Wooli West.
In Wooli.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, but then you still have one in Sakunda, where Halifa used to be.
Exactly.
Is this the influence of Halifa? That Cham, is it? That was Cham. Musa Cham won, or you think Musa himself, in terms of his own capacity, he was able to, or he benefited from Doy's dominance and credibility in the area through Syria?
Yeah, I think all of them played out. I think, like you said, the influence of Halifa was there.
Yes.
Some people will vote on the basis of that.
Yes.
Musa himself is not a dormant person.
Okay.
He is a philanthropist for many years.
Okay.
And he does not only use his philanthropy in Sakunda, but he does it up to Nyani, to Wooli, everywhere.
Okay.
Where you go, hospitals, dispensaries, etc., etc.
Yes.
So he's been on about.
I see.
Using his philanthropy. I believe that also helped him a lot.
I see.
Especially in the area of youth empowerment, youth engagements, etc., etc., cleansing the roads, etc. So he is a visible person.
Okay.
So I believe that also played out. So when you add these two things, I think that's what made Musa to be in that seat.
So the Sakunda, you think Sakunda, from what you have observed, and of course Musa's own performance so far, that you think Sakunda, like most part of Wooli, will remain Doi?
I believe that so. I believe that Sakunda, because I still continue to follow the contributions of Musa, and you begin to see that he is very strategic the way he deals with his questions in Parliament, his engagements in Parliament. He does not talk too much, but then whatever he says, he is so of it.
It comes with substance.
And is always in engagement with his electorate. He knows what his electorate wants, and he continues to pursue the interests of his electorate. So I think he's so connected to his people in such a way that it will be difficult to disconnect them. Ruling parties have incumbency, they have a lot of resources and a lot of influence, but I believe when it comes to Sakunda, it will be a tough nut to crack again. Yes, that's what I believe.
Yeah. Okay, let's go into Parliament. You are a senior member and you have been into many committees, 6 committees actually. You are in the Human Rights and Constitutional Matters Committee, you are in the Public Petition Committee. In fact, in that committee, you are the chairman. You are also in the Standing Orders Committee. You are in the Public Appointments Committee. You are also, like I said, in the Assembly Business Committee. And then in the Pan-African Parliament, you are a member of the Gambian delegation on the area of justice and human rights. So 6 senior positions that have been given to you. So you definitely can be counted as, one of the most trusted members of the Assembly. So I would like to know your perspective on some of the things that happened there in the last legislative session. For example, there is this big elephant in the room, the Constitution, the one that came on, which also was followed by the debate on the election bill, which had a controversial deliberations on the diaspora voting, etc. So let's go generally to the Constitution. The 2024 draft, which has been much criticized, there is still a fear that when it gets to Parliament again, there might not be a consensus. It will be thrown out. People say that will be justice because, I mean, the government, the majority caucus did the same thing to the 2021. Where do you stand on this thing?
Well, this is very interesting. I see a country that is not looking at their country. They are not looking at the interests of the people. If you are an MP and you are brought there to serve the interests of the people, you will not be concerned about party positions, political party positions, because it's not political party positions that you are elected. You are elected to serve the people, the interests of the people. So if that is the reason why we are there, my belief is that it should pass.
It should pass.
It should pass. Because I tell you, Cham, from 1986 to date, I have been in politics. And as far as I know, we have always been fighting for a good constitution. A constitution that will have two things. Without those two things, we don't feel that our constitution is complete.
What are those?
And that is the absolute majority principle, that is one, and the term limit.
I see.
All African countries are yearning for these two, and all the African organizations, whether it's ECOWAS or AU, are calling on all countries to adopt these two provisions.
That is absolute majority voting system. Exactly. And a term limit of 2 terms.
Exactly. So in 2020 draft, it was put there. But the way it was put there, the opposition accepted to pass it in the second reading. But then those who supported the NPP did not accept it the way it was put there. Because the way it was put there was that the president's first term will be counted as his first term.
Okay.
And those who are supporting the president in parliament are saying, no, that should not be counted. Yeah. They call that acquired right. That the president has acquired that right before the 2020 draft.
Okay.
So the 2020 draft should not have counted that. And because of that, they have rejected. They said so many things, but me, who is an insider, I know
that was
that's the major thing, the reason why they have rejected it. There were a few, because there were about 9, but when you add, the NRP there who joined them, and then you have other independents that joined them, then they deprived the parliament of the 75% that is required threshold for it to pass.
I see.
So it could not pass.
Do you think they were right in that, and the government's argument that at that point was not fair to the president? Because, like you said, he had already acquired it right before the constitution being contemplated. To say that when the constitution come into force that very day, that term should be counted a term.
Yeah.
I mean, the government said that's not fair to the sitting president. It could have been anybody. It could have been Barrow. It could have been anybody. They thought that was unfair. So do you think that was...
No, I think
was right in that argument?
I don't think they are right. I think they are wrong.
Yeah, but
I think we have to see it from another angle. My argument in Parliament then was that this is the president that we put up for a coalition, and in that coalition we have agreed to a 3-year mandate, so that we'll have a new constitution. We'll have several laws that are required to change, legal reform, etc. Reform. Now, the president has flouted that agreement, that 3-year agreement, and went in for a 5-year term, five-year term, which is constitutional. The 3-year that does not mean that the 3-year is not constitutional, because the 3 years is simply saying you can resign. It's a gentleman agreement between us. We trusted each other.
That's right.
That we have been fighting what they call dictatorship for all these years. And now, if we come up with a strategy that will dislodge that dictatorship, to come up with a new situation we should be able to go through a transition that will help us to usher into a democracy and a new constitutional order, which will also cement that democracy. But if that 3 years is forgone, for reasons, you want me to go through that?
Oh, well, no, there have been a lot of...
You don't want me to go through
blame,
that. You know,
some blame the UDP,
blame games and all this.
Somebody blame the UDP. But in any case...
We took it in good faith and said, okay, fine. You know, he's not ready to honor the agreement. Now, let's continue with the 5 years. So we continue with the 5 years. Now, if I were in his shoes, I would have said, well, the reason why I have come to this position is not because I was popular. It's because all the political parties in this country have sacrificed everything, their positions, and they have sacrificed their candidacies for me, their candidature for me. So therefore, I should also be generous to the country, to the extent that let me set an example. You know the example that Mandela set.
Oh, yes.
Mandela has been in jail for many years, even though he was struggling before he goes to jail. But even despite all those troubles, yes, when he came, he needs to set the country on a new footing, a new democracy, a new destiny. So people should never compare, his regime to that of the white apartheid regime. But if they do, that means that he has totally failed. So I would have thought that with a new president like that, who has come into presidency like that, even his party leader like Dabo, was not part of the equation. You understand? So he would have just said, okay, it's fine. If you count this one as one, if I have the second chance, that should be enough for me. And it will have a good legacy. It will have been a very good example for Africa. And then even a more Ibrahim Foundation and all these things would have followed him. It would have been potentially. You know all that it goes with. There is no failure in that. So but I thought that's what the president intends to do. Okay. And when I saw it in the draft, I said, well, the president must have agreed to this. And since this thing has gone to the executive to look at, and they did not query openly that they are opposed to it, I would have thought that, well, the president has accepted this scenario, and then wants to set this example. But when I saw his members in parliament and how they stood for him and all that, and then how I see the justice minister who actually presented the bill, not ready to defend the provisions of that constitution, the way I would have wished somebody who moved emotion to defend, then I begin to feel that these things are they are conniving.
Conniving with the government.
They are conniving. The government and these people are conniving. And no amount of international intervention could convince them to change their mind. So that's how the threshold of 75% in the second reading failed. Was missed in 2020. Well, now, we have come to 2024.
Exactly.
There are some consultations. If anybody tells you there are no consultations, no, I don't agree. There were consultations, even if you call them minimal consultations. We know several times this guy from Nigeria, former President Jonathan, used to come. He made several trips. Yes. And he would meet political leaders. And they would discuss, and it is about contentious issues in the draft. Now, that draft, to set up another commission, to go around the whole country again and spend another 100-something million again, for me, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
We would have put that money into better use.
Something else,
because there are so many things happening in this country. So, and no constitution will pass to parliament without the input of the executive. They have the final input. Now, that is their input. The final input they put in the draft is their input. The draft is their input. But when it comes to parliament now, they have no say there now, legally speaking. Yes. They can go on their hand and do things, but in reality, it is the parliament now which is in control of that draft. And they do what they want to do with it. Without their desire in that draft, if it gets to the population, in fact, it will not get to the population because it requires 72% of the parliament, which is 42 members in the second reading. It requires the same 42 members in the third reading.
Oh.
So it will never pass.
So it means
It's entirely in our hands. Now it is goodwill now, political goodwill. Are we ready?
Are you ready?
As Gambian parliamentarians,
Yeah.
trying to represent our people to ensure that our people's desire is put there. Because we have a scrutiny, the Committee on Human Rights and Constitutional Matters. This would be likely. This will be referred to that committee.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is composed of the opposition and the ruling party. We are all there. In fact, the opposition is greater. If you look at the name opposition in parliament,
there, yes.
because NIP
there are parties that are
exactly
for all intents and purposes.
Yes.
from the NPP.
So
they look like it.
So that's the situation now. If that thing is in our hands and it is referred to the committee, the committee will call all the experts that they think will be able to help them in their work. They'll be able to call any witness to come to help them in their work. They can even go outside of this country to make comparative analysis between the draft and outside other countries that are likely, that had likely, got the same situation that we were in. They could also go into the hinterland, to the country, to the constituents, and ask them what their opinions are. And genuinely enough, come up with a good report, which is laid before, just like all the other bills go through. And then if that report goes through, then we go into the third reading. And in the third reading, it is give and take. Some people think that it is just simple majority. No. In the third reading, it is simple majority. But if you don't do give and take during the third reading, that's what they call the consideration stage.
Yes.
Before we do the third reading, if you don't do give and take between the ruling party and the opposition,
Yeah.
the third reading will fail. The 42 members will not. You
won't get that. Yes.
Because it's a high threshold.
Yeah.
To change a constitution in the Gambia is a high threshold.
And none of the political divide has that number.
Exactly. None of the political divide has that number. So there must be a give and take.
So
So that's my position.
Okay. So you don't
We
know
will
what...
push them to this provision, they'll push us to this provision. We'll take, we'll give. And then when we do that, the key things in the constitution will remain.
That is
But where we will have difference will be the non-entrenched clauses, which they are not contentious because even if they pass, any government that comes again can go to parliament and make another amendment and change those things to the way you feel, or add or delete or whatever. You have those rights when you have the parliament.
Yeah.
So parliamentary work never stops.
Never.
It's a continuous process.
Depending on what government comes to power.
Exactly. So for me, you have the absolute majority principle there. When presidential candidates stood, one must get 50 plus.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
And if no single candidate gets 50 plus, there will be a second round.
Yeah. That's right.
And if there is a second round, only the first, the one with the highest vote, and the next with the highest vote will contest.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the country, all the other parties will go on ice and allow these two parties to campaign in the country.
Yeah.
And then there too, it is easier to make coalition with other parties when you are in the opposition or when you are a ruling party. If you are going into a second round, you can call on any of these parties. They already know now you are the one who is going for the second round. They are not there.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
So they will support you.
It's much fairer.
And in most African countries, it is because of the support of other parties in the second round that makes the opposition to easily come and dislodge the ruling party and take over. And then we'll see a new change.
Yeah.
So I believe that when that is in the draft constitution, that is something we must give chance to. Now, the other issue is regarding the term limit. They make a lot of issues about term limit. But if you go with this constitution, this draft, and then let's say the draft will come into being before even December or January.
Yes.
before the presidential election anyway. And this constitution, the draft constitution is saying, immediately after the referendum, if the referendum passed yesterday, today, this constitution will come into being. Huh?
Yes.
Which means that it is this constitution that we are going, is the constitution that we are, which is going to be used for the next election.
Yes.
So which means the absolute majority principle is coming in the next election.
Yes.
If this one has passed.
Exactly. Yes.
So which means if the people really don't want a president and they want a change,
Yeah.
here is an opportunity, to use to bring about change.
I understand.
You understand?
Yeah.
But if you say no, the president must come down.
Yeah.
And the president says, also, I'm not also going to come down. Huh?
Okay.
Then you are going to miss an opportunity.
I see your point.
So I don't see any problem why
It should not pass.
you should not pass.
Okay, because of those two. On account
Because of these two
I see.
crucial political decisions.
You know, people have
Positions
always
that-
said, I agree, because people have always said, okay, you know, when the people are ready for change, the president can dream to be here for 100 years. He can dream that. But when people want to change him,
They change.
he can dream 2 years, the next day he's going
Exactly. So we leave the president to continue dreaming. But when it comes to the chance comes to vote,
Yeah.
the Gambian people should know what they want. If they want change, they will change it.
Yeah. So in other words, you are saying that, okay, let us agree.
Yes.
Let him have his way as far as term. He wanted another term. He can go on and on.
Yes.
But then let's have the absolute majority
Exactly in place.
to
make it
difficult now.
To make it difficult for him to
For any
become-
person, for him,
for any person
for that
yes,
matter,
without getting
the absolute majority.
absolute majority of the
So that can be a way of getting him stopped on his tracks.
exactly.
Without any. So you mean
Exactly.
this should be giveaway. They take this one and the opposition take.
Exactly.
Okay, that's an excellent point, isn't it?
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
But if you continue to prolong,
delay
another 2 years,
Yeah,
we talk
but
about
no-
after election, every election we talk about the draft.
It will never be. It will never be in place.
And then when will the term limit be counted?
It will always be there. You cannot-
Because even if you go into this, in fact, if you win this one,
Yeah.
at least you can say, the next one,
Yeah. The next one.
his term will be expired.
Yes.
But if you
If you don't put it in,
do away with this thing
can
and he
always
still
go-
has an ego
Yeah,
to move
to
on,
move on. yeah, that's on and on.
it is endless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Huh?
So at the end of it, it comes to a personal choice, like
Yes.
you said.
Yeah.
Okay, if you were in his position,
Yeah.
you said at least if the 3 years could not happen, one reason or the other,
Yeah.
he should be generous enough and considerate enough to say, well,
Yeah.
definitely I am the biggest benefactor of this change.
Exactly.
If at least I managed to survive for 5 years,
Yeah.
I should show myself, some bit of consideration and said, well, perhaps I should end it here. You said that will be a good legacy and a good example for everybody to follow.
Exactly.
So basically what you are saying, is it too late for the president to do the same, that thing again?
No, it's not late if he has the ingenuity and he has the right advisors. That's what they would advise him.
So even,
In fact, let me tell you in confidence that the whole idea of pushing this constitution, the way it is being pushed, is because the international community is also pushing, whether we like it or not. The ECOWAS is pushing. The international community outside of the ECOWAS is pushing. The AU is pushing. Everybody is pushing for a constitution that will include, like I said, tell you, the absolute majority principle as well as the term limit. Anybody who does not have this in your constitution, you are limited.
You are limited. That's true.
Among your peers, you are limited.
So
You understand? So if I were the president, I would take this opportunity and say, look, if this constitution pass, even if I win, this will be my last term. Now it will be 3 terms. Wouldn't any human being be satisfied with 15 years in power?
I think so.
Huh? And then you may be able to get the recognition of the Mo Ibrahims and all these things. If you are looking for money, you will have the money in that time.
Yeah.
And then you will have all the good name
All the
that you require.
all the glory.
And still now, people will still learn from you.
Yeah.
Look, when Touray from Mali,
Ahmed Tumani Touray.
Tumani Touray, stamp was elapsed.
Yeah.
His surrogates and all the advisors, everybody in his party went throughout the country to mobilize Malian people and brought them to Bamako, to Bamako.
Yeah.
Huh? Big rally.
Yeah.
They called him there, but he told them, look, the constitution says 2 years.
2 years, 2 terms, and I'm going.
But our party will put up somebody. What you did here today, do the same thing for that person to win, and then the country will move. I'm not the only one in this country.
That was exemplary.
So he is having 3 terms now. Announce to the Gambian people that let this constitution pass, but this will be my 3rd term, even if I win. And that winning is not left to you.
It is depending on the people.
It's depending on the Gambian people.
Most people think he should even cut the debate much shorter by saying, I'm not contesting in 2020.
Exactly. I'm not contesting in 2026,
like next year.
What will stop him from that? APRC is a big party.
NPP.
They have NPP is a big party. They put in APRC, the alliance.
But you had
UDP. Part of UDP went there. Yeah. Part of other parties went there. So it's a big party.
But you had him say that.
And you have a lot of intellectuals among them.
You had him say that he had considered not to run, but because of the fact that the party is young, and he was prevailed on that, perhaps if you go, it may not be good for the party. You heard him say that. He said he had considered going, but because of the interest of the party, he will now go.
I heard of those things, but I see them to be excuses. Those are just political excuses that people give. People can say things that to put people off here and there to maintain what they are. The reality is that he wants to continue.
Yeah.
If he wants, any politician who wants to stop,
would stop by himself.
Would stop by himself,
no matter
irrespective of what happened.
Yes. That's
sometimes they say things. Political tactics. Sometimes they say things for some reason.
For some reason.
I give you an example of Bissau. The guy said he's not going to stand again. His wife has advised him not to stand.
But what happened?
But then all of a sudden turn again, and now he's turning the whole country
in chaos. So that is where the issue is. ECOWAS, African Union, you said international community, all are pressuring us for us to have a constitution.
Yeah.
And these 2 things, they are important: absolute majority and 2 terms.
Exactly.
So everybody agreed that if there are 2 terms, it contributes to the stability and cohesion of the state. Because people will know that after all, we don't have any more time to argue with this man. He's going.
Yeah.
So it sets a kind of a barometer where people can be sure of political stability all the time.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move on. From the constitution, you have this, you have this election bill, controversial as well. Again, the majority caucus, the NPP, are alleged to have, voted to bring clause 14 down.
Yeah.
They argue that, well, in some cases they said, well, you know what, the diaspora voting should be even more, it should be a wholesale package, not just for them to, be able to participate and stuff. But the issue remains that the clause 14 allows for them to be registered, whether it will involve the IEC going there to where they are to be registered. So it's been seen that the majority caucus didn't want this.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Well, they don't want it for a good reason. They feel that whether they say it or not, sometimes you don't have to say certain things. But their feeling is that in the diaspora, when you go to Facebook and social media, etc., you tend to see more opposition, vocal opposition, being on the opposition side than on the ruling party side. When you talk about all these issues that are taking place in the country in relation to corruption, maladministration, etc., etc. So the people outside in the diaspora are very vocal people, and therefore it frightens them. Let me put it that way. It kind of frightens them that the opposition must have the majority there. So if we allow them to vote, even if we use our inducement and our tactics inside the country,
we cannot walk over.
And use our leverage on the people, but outside we may not be able to use it outside. So therefore, we are likely to lose the elections.
But they later change. They said, no. It's even possible that we can win in the diaspora. That's what they later say.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. I'm saying, tactically, they will say anything. But when it comes to actually making a decision, they've shown that we don't want to make a decision in support of diaspora voting.
Okay.
Because clause 14 is simply trying to help the IEC. This is an IEC act,
Absolutely.
even though it's brought by a minister.
Yeah.
But it's the IEC that actually formulated this bill. You understand? So clause 14 is saying, if the IEC is engaging in registration for the diaspora, they should ensure that they consult with the cabinet. They also consult with the inter-party committee, which comprises of all political parties. That's just to give, because it's a complicated matter, maybe. So at least they will need the input of players in making that law, in that regulation. So that's all that is there essentially. Now, if we reject that, because the constitution is saying they should be registered, and they should vote.
They should vote. Yes.
So which means that's the key thing.
That's the key.
Now this one is just helping them to be able to register them so that they can vote.
Exactly.
But if we reject that, it means that the IEC now can go ahead now and do the registration and do the election without getting the input of these people. But in my view, nothing will still stop the IEC, whether it is in that act or not, that will stop them from contacting people to get ideas. Because the IEC has already gone outside of the country to make study. They make study of the diaspora voting. They went to Cote d'Ivoire, this place, how do you call it? Cape Verde Island. They went to Guinea-Bissau, they went to Senegal, they went to Guinea-Conakry, they went to so many countries. To look for ideas, to see how they were doing it. So they are very much comfortable in conducting elections outside the country.
Yes, okay.
So all they need is that they need an act that will stipulate that.
Yes.
Do it this way, do it this way, do it this way. Advise them, do it this way. That's all that they are looking for. And there are other sections in the draft, in the bill, which deals with foreign, elections in foreign lands.
Foreign lands, yes.
So that was, I think it's clause 20. I think it's clause 21 or 23, where we had a tussle again, and then we went into an election. But that one, because of the long discussion and our explanation and the minister's explanation, it became clearer to some of the MPs, like the ones, independent MPs from Foni, begin to understand, really, we are voting against something that we don't understand.
They don't understand.
They confess that they don't understand, but now they understood. And they voted on the side of those who are in for diaspora voting. And when they put their weight on us, we balanced them. And then that went through. So which means clause 14 is out. But you have other clause that is still dealing with diaspora voting. And there are still other clauses inside the bill, which we have not reached in our consideration stage, which are still talking about elections in foreign countries.
Okay. All right.
So which means that
there is still a hope.
There is still a hope. So if we continue the way we are, what we're going to do at the very end is that we're going to come up with a motion, which I intend to do. To come up with a motion and say, let's rescind our earlier decision on clause 14.
I see. Yes.
Now that you have MPs understanding the clause.
So it's not all is not lost then.
All is not lost.
Okay.
So, but there is it must be a written motion, and it must go through the Assembly Business Committee to select a date for that, and then that would come, and then once we pass it, then the clause will come back.
Okay, that's
to the
not
act.
All is lost. Yes.
Yes. So all is not lost.
Okay.
Yes, all is not lost.
So what do you make as a politician, of course, which vested your party is almost interested in free and fair elections?
Yes.
There have been allegations that the majority caucus are not keen on giving the vote to the people in the diaspora, and that is meant those living in the Western world or in Europe and America. But the government is very keen in giving, in the guise of national ID card documents to people as far as Guinea-Bissau, Mauritania and other places. The opposition, or at least a part of the opposition, see this, as a ploy to get national documents to people in expectation that they can also access voters' cards to come and vote for them. They allege that this is a vote, they call it, this is a election rigging plan. That's the allegation. What do you make of that?
Yes, that's a very good question. It is difficult for anybody to come without empirical evidence to say that is the case. But one can just assume that, incumbents will never stop their games. I told you here, they will do inducement,
Yes.
they will do patronage,
Yes.
and they will do other tactics.
Yes.
By virtue of their incumbency. So one can believe with the assumption that going to give ID card to people, when people are outside, you don't give them ID card, you give them passports.
Passports, naturally.
Huh? So you don't give them ID cards.
ID cards.
But ID card, what they would do is that they don't have ID card. Okay, let's give them ID card. And then when it comes to registration, we'll take the team there again, or we go and bring them to come and register and we return them. Because they have the money.
That's right.
Money is not their problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know that they used to go to Dakar and bring people to come and vote. They bring people from, Kaolak. They'll bring people from Tambakunda, Sigansor and other places.
The problem is
even from Guinea-Bissau, they used to bring
there
people.
is no problem with bringing people, but are they eligible Gambians?
Yeah, this is the problem. So which means that if they are doing it for election matters, it should be clear that they are doing it for election matters so that all political parties have their agents there.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
But if you are not connecting it to political matters,
But they are
connecting it to...
They are sending national institutions like the immigration department, which everybody thought will be professional and only give to legitimate Gambians.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. But that's not... it's something out of the way. It's out of the track. If you are going to give, like I said, that has never happened in this country.
Exactly.
For anybody to go and give ID card to people in Guinea-Bissau, in Mali,
yes.
in other places.
Yes.
It does not happen that way.
So, but what is the opposition doing?
But before you leave your country, in most cases, you've already left with your passport.
Exactly.
And you've left with your ID card.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
How many of those people claim that their ID cards to warrant a whole institution
whole immigration
to send a team to go and register? So that's what I'm saying. I can come to the belief
It's suspicious.
with this on the assumption or the suspicion that they are up to something, and it must be related to elections.
So what would the opposition do in that? Because obviously many people point that this is a clear-cut suspicion of election rigging. What are you doing as an opposition?
Well, it's suspicious election rigging, but it is not outright election rigging, but it is suspicious election rigging. So which means that the inter-party should have come up again, because this is the use of the inter-party. Anytime there is disrepute in the election process or in the political process, the inter-party is constituted to come together and discuss the matter. So what will trigger the political leaders to call for a meeting and discuss this particular matter? Because it's a very serious matter. Because if they succeed in, in Mauritania, they may extend it to Mali.
That's
they
what
may
they said.
extend it to Guinea-Bissau.
They will go to Guinea-Bissau, another place.
And because they are incumbent and they have all these resources, they will send bosses to go and bring all these people to come and register here and then go back again. Election comes, they bring them again. So don't underrate that. Because even if you get 10,000 people from the closest diaspora, from the diaspora voting, it is an asset.
That's an
when
asset.
it comes to election. Even one vote is an asset. Not talking about 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. So it is not a small matter, which I will take to my central committee for us to discuss, to call for an inter-party meeting of some sort to discuss this particular matter. I think it's that important.
Let's go now to the select committees. Okay, before you go into that, because I want to deal very much. What about the burning issues right now? The issue that has to deal with Jammeh's assets.
Yeah.
There have been an investigative report by the Republic which suggested that there have been conflict of interest and lack of transparency in matters dealing with the sales.
Yeah.
Up to now, nobody seemed to know exactly how many properties have been sold, to whom, and at how much. Even though the government tried to publish a list that is supposedly contained buyers, but it still did not give us a clear picture of how many more assets have been sold and that are waiting. Government said there are assets that have not been sold because they might be considered to be used for public purposes, but nobody knows which are these assets. So the more the government speaks, the more people get confused. So what do you make of this?
That's a very important question. Again, the select committee is constituted. I would just read part of it. To inquire into the list of assets identified by the commission and determine which assets were sold, transferred, or otherwise disposed of. In the legal and administrative processes used in the disposal of the said assets, including the authority under which they were sold. Assess whether all actions taken were in accordance with the laws of the Gambia, particularly laws and policies relating to procurement, anti-corruption, and public finance. Should also be looked at.
Wow.
Examine the valuation, pricing, procurement methods used to determine asset value and identify any discrepancies or undervaluation. So these are the issues. Investigate whether the valuations and sales were transparent, competitive, and in the public interest.
Wow.
Etc. So identify and provide purchasers of assets, including individuals and corporate entities, assessing whether proper procedures were followed and determine whether any conflicts of interest, abuse of office, or procedural irregularities occurred. So
the scope that you
it's a wide scope, and in addition, any other matters.
Matters such as that has been a point of debate before it is set up, like if there were other properties that have not been dealt with by the Janneh Commission.
Yes. Any other matter connected to it will be looked into by the committee. So the committee is set up, and it's a 7-member committee, and all political states are there. So there are contentious issues relating to the composition of the, but it's approved eventually
settled
by a simple majority of members. Anyway, and then it is constituted, and it has started its work. That's what is important. So the public should just expect that this is going to be an open.
Yeah, we heard that it's going to be open.
It's going to be open.
But this open now should be in courts, because that's what people expected of your select committee on the petroleum, the Russian petroleum saga. Only to be, at some point, people said they have to testify in camera. And journalists were asked, no, you cannot cover this because the witnesses have requested to testify in camera.
Well, that's another matter. They have, you are dealing with the constitution. You are also dealing with the standing orders of parliament. You are also dealing with other laws relating to, like FIF, financial intelligence, etc., etc. So all these things are there. So the committee at each given time, should look into all those things to see whether this thing should be in camera or it should be an open thing. But in principle, it will be in the open. This one will be in the open.
What can I expect?
Unless you will have isolated cases that will warrant it to be in camera.
But even there, at the end of it, their inputs will be, or their deliberations will be in the report anyway. And the report.
Yes, it will be in the report.
So even if somebody testified in camera, if what he said is captured, it will eventually be in the camera, in the report.
It will be
public anyway.
It will be published anyway. Yes, and once it is published, once it is laid before Parliament and approved, it is a public document.
Now this committee is going to deal with it is 120 days. Many people said there have been professionals in auditing who said you probably may not have the expertise to do this. Especially in the fact that you need to do this in 120 days.
Yes. I think the main investigation on the assets has already been done. I think the tabulation has already been done, or the collection of assets, and people who have, had any dealings in this thing have all been identified, essentially. So it's a matter of cross-checking. It's more like cross-checking to see whether what has happened in good faith, happen in the best way, that, whether there is value for money, etc. Like I read to you. So those are the things. We are not really going into looking at all those assets, and then that's not your role now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not your role now.
Okay.
I think also the issue of whether we have competence or not. Yes, of course, I'm not an accountant. I'm not an auditor.
Nobody's an auditor in your committee.
But you have the National Assembly has auditors, and they have subject matter specialists. They have a lot of expertise there. But that is not enough. The National Assembly is mandated. When you set up, all these committees I'm mentioning to you, they are all mandated to look outside expertise. If you have even outside the country, to go and collect experts, anyhow you want, to ensure that they help you to be able to do your work, properly. So you can do that. We can call on any institution in the country to investigate a part, to do anything. So that's our role. I think you remember the GT board.
Yes,
petition.
GT board petition committee.
Yes, our committee had deployed the services of the ombudsperson. When it comes to jobs in the GT board, how they were contracted, and some of them were laid off inadvertently, etc., etc. So they look into all those things, and then they gave us report back. And those reports are they are not confidential, and they are published. So which means that we can, wherever we know of an expert or an institution that can do this particular area effectively, we'll assign them.
I see.
So that's confidence is not a problem.
You guys realize in the National Assembly that many people have confidence in your inquiries than that of the governments, because they have said, governments are prone to politicizing things, even though you may be politicians, but then people expect you as a representative of the people to do a better job. Are you aware of the confidence that people have in this committee?
Yeah, I'm aware. I'm aware of the confidence. The fact that many people who went out, because you don't do any survey, but looking at those who went out to protest, and following the utterances in the social media, etc., and in the media generally, you come to realize that there is a lot of confidence on the committee. And it's not a select committee; it's a special committee.
Special committee, yes.
It's a special committee. So which means that it should be above all the other committees. And then the parliament would not want to fail in their this responsibility, because all eyes are on Parliament, the special committee, to ensure that they do the needful. So none of us will want to go to be in this committee only to come out and learn that things have gone in shambles. We don't want to how do you call it, disappoint our people. So we will do all the needful to ensure that the inquiry is done properly, so that the results are known.
Okay, I'm not going to press you on what sort of outcome we expect, since you are investigating and you are a member. You didn't preempt the evidence. Now let's move on to another important committee that have been in action in the news in these couple of days. That is the Human Rights and Constitutional Matters Committee. On the side of human rights, you made a tour of detention centers, prisons, and you dealt with the police and I guess other securities that often come in contact with issues that might arise to human rights violations. Overall, since you came to this committee and what you have discovered, how improved is our human rights situation, especially from the point of security versus civil rights?
Yeah, thank you very much. The Human Rights Committee was established sometime in 2019. It was established in the 5th Assembly, but lately in 2019. So we had to go through a lot of training, and then the Constitution also came. So we had to go to Holland to learn how to build consensus among ourselves as well as within the community, and so on. But we also had some tour to detention centers in 2020, etc. What we were looking for was the security situation vis-a-vis human rights. What has happened also is that we have discovered that the colonial structures still remain in many places.
Oh, yeah?
As you know, the Mile 2 prison is a colonial structure. And it was not meant for rehabilitation of people. It was not meant for correction. It was meant for punishment. So they compartmentalized that whole place into small cells, small rooms, and people sleeping on hard floor or on,
actually on top of
wood planks, etc., etc. So you see all that type of thing there. And then you look at the mosquito, nettings, and so on and so forth. If you look at the situation, you know that this is not human rights friendly at all. And very little improvement has taken place.
But what happened to the government's promise that they're going to build a new prison?
Well, that promise is on. It's a promise, it's on. We've discovered during the tour from the prison officers, authorities, that I think by now a land has been secured for that. And I think,
know where?
I forgot exactly where, but land has been secured somewhere in the Combos, where that prison should be established. So you go into these prisons, that's what you witness. And in Mile 2 prisons, when you look at the human rights situation, you see that it's appalling. Because the number of people that should actually be in Mile 2 will be just about 300 something.
Oh, you mean the capacity?
The capacity is just about 300 something. But what is in prison now, the number of people in prison now is over 700.
Overcrowded?
It's overcrowded.
Nearly double.
I tell you,
double.
Yes, it's almost double. And I tell you, 90% of those people who are in prison are young people.
Wow, that's very sad.
These are the working age.
That's very sad.
It's very, very sad. Very, very young people between, 18 to 35.
Now, can you
beyond 40, 45 is very minimal.
Could you?
So you have all these people dumped in this place, and tell me, the type of crimes they commit is what assault. He slapped me, he beat me, that type of thing.
Or he smoked
cannabis, or he sold cannabis here, that type of thing. Or he, I don't know, you have theft.
Stole a mobile.
Mobile theft is a lot. So many young people are going to prison because of mobile theft, But, if you look at the situation, Cham, you begin to see, does that warrant for all these people to be in prison? If I were a president today, I would decongest that whole place.
But then that may be difficult because they might say people have committed crimes.
They have committed crimes, but we must have many ways of correcting people. As we say, it is meant for correctional institution now. But what is happening there? There is no correction institution.
Punishing and banishing.
With correction institutions, you would have got young people. You would make them to work, and what they earn during prison, part of it is safe for them. So that immediately they finish their prison, at least they have something, safe for them, and they start with that. But you just keep people there; they have no work. All they do is maybe here and there ask them to go and collect firewood and come. Even that is a cake. People collecting firewood for cooking and all these things. You go there, that's what they are still using. Firewood to cook for the prisoners every day. Collecting firewood. That's in fact depleting our forest cover. We continue to use firewood. And in fact, our law is saying, you should not use charcoal.
It's legal to fall trees.
It's illegal to fall trees to make charcoal.
Trees, yeah.
Or to come and make firewood. But people are cutting fresh, trees for firewood. And even in that prison, they are using fresh trees. They will cut to bring them to cook for these people. So a lot of things need to be corrected. The other issue we look at is in terms of human rights in the detention centers. You have some of these small police stations. They call them police posts. Yes. One is in Sukuta.
Yes.
Yes. One is in one is in Tanje. Those areas, you go there, you find just a small hole at the top of the cell.
Yeah.
You put your head in, you want to take it out because of the scent. You understand? And you keep people there. We went to mile 2, I think, in one of the cells, which is just about 3 square meter, maybe 3 meter by 3 meter square. You have something like 27, young people packed there in remand. So these are the human rights issues that we have been looking at. And throughout the country where we go to, that's the experience we have. We have small windows. Ventilation is a problem. And some of these people have
chronic conditions, respiratory problems.
And in the hospital, in the prison, there also you have a lot of young people who need medication continuously. You have a lot of people there who need everyday medication, but they could not get medication. And some of those medications are very expensive, and they cannot afford it. There are people who cannot afford it. So you have all those issues that in terms of human rights. So really, when I went there, personally, I was shocked.
Touched, yeah.
I used to visit prisons, but this time I was even more shocked.
Emotional. So what can your committee do in terms of recommendations and getting government to act?
Yeah, that's what we are doing. We've not finished our work. We've started, we've done the first round, like I said, in 2019, and we completed it after the 2021 elections. And we put that report before the parliament, and we came up with recommendations. And some of the recommendations have passed. The government has implemented some of the recommendations. Okay. You go to some of the police stations, I think some other institutions are supporting them to build new police stations. So, and when they build new police stations, you will see that they'll put bigger windows. At least
more comfortable cells.
Yes, more comfortable cells.
More
humane cells. So we've seen those improvements, but yet still we are going around.
We have been a top of setting up a correction center.
Yeah,
I heard about that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The prisons are supposed to be correction centers now. But I'm saying the reform is incomplete because of lack of funding here, or funding shortages here, etc., etc. And then because of the old buildings. And one of our recommendations was really building a new prison.
You think
that one is not
prioritizing it? Because one thing is of saying, making is a plan, but not pushing all the energy towards it. That's another thing.
All the energy should be put on it. All hands should be on deck, because that place is not a correction center. It is a punishment center, and it's very inhumane.
And haven't you heard about calls as to the reform of the law, so that people that you have seen, very young people who went to prison for what we will call trivial things. Well, a crime is not a trivial thing, but then people who have been caught smoking and then sent to prison, some who have been quarreling and here and there, they've been sent to prison for those things.
It's innovation that should come when it comes to our prisons. We need to be innovative. Like we are talking about this correction thing. We need to be able to punish people without having to put them in these conditions. You understand?
But doesn't it require changing
I think you journalists should continue to. I know you are covering the National Assembly, but we have come up with the Criminal Offences Act.
Yes,
and you know that the Criminal Offences Act have not been reviewed for almost 90 years.
My goodness.
And we just finished reviewing that, and we passed it in Parliament. It's now in the domain of the President.
Okay.
And then the Criminal Procedure Bill also has been reviewed, and there are some humane things there. Because it came through our committee, the Human Rights Committee and Constitutional Matters Committee. So we injected in a lot of human rights issues there. I think many young people I discovered during the tour went to prison because of simple, what they call vagabond.
Yes, that's right.
Vagabondage.
Yes.
And some they call them rook and vagabond.
Yes.
Is one, and there is another one.
And disorderly. Disorderly thing in public.
Yes, exactly. So we've removed those things from the Criminal Offences Bill.
Yeah, but because in the past, anybody who is acting disorderly can be packed.
You found somebody standing at your corner.
Yeah.
And then you come into the toilet, you come back again, you see him, you say, what is this man doing? I don't know what he's doing. You call the police. And they come and pick him up.
And put him away.
Take him to court, and then they send him to... We don't have money to take care of those type of people in prison. You understand? And you look at the food of the prisoners.
Yes.
The food of the prisoners, they put them in this small plastic bowl. You put it there. That's how. Just the same colonial mentality. Instead of having a big table like this and prisoners come and eat, even if it is going to be like a wooden plank like this, and then each will come and have a seat and eat your food comfortably. No, they just give you that small bowl and they will, file them outside under the sun, and each person will come and pick your small, and that these plastic, basins, let me call it that way.
Are not even
containers are not even healthy because under the sun it can even melt. And so on and so forth. So there are so many issues involved in this. But the criminal offences bill makes things a bit better. Hopefully, when that is assented to by the president, it's likely to ease certainty. Yes, and prisoners are also clamoring for prerogative of mercy.
Okay.
But you see, the prison guards will also tell you, we know these people. You give them prerogative mercy, they leave. The next week you see them coming back again. But if they could not fit in the society, they will have to do something else that will take them back. They say, at least I'm eating in that place. But here I come, I don't have place to sleep, I don't have food to eat. Don't have nothing. So they are likely to commit something again
so that they come back
to take
again.
back. So, but we were looking at that also with a human rights angle in the offences bill, and we said, well, we are going to remove two things. That is one, we hard labor. We will remove that. But that may encourage the government to arrest some people so that they can go and do hard labor. But we will also there is another provision. Which is dealing with I forgot that particular provision. Which is dealing with which is dealing with punishment.
Okay.
Instead of jailing the person, you make the person to go and do
the community work. Instead of custodial sentence.
Yes, custodial sentence. Then you go for community work. And then we've inserted that also there.
Okay.
So at least those things will help. The human rights situation of the prisons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's been this committee has been busy actually.
Yeah, it was very busy.
Okay. Let's now go to. We will end, of course, the program on your party.
Yeah.
DOI.
Okay.
Okay. In the recent past, it's been said that maybe there are assumptions that the Honorable Halifa Salah, who had announced, I think even before the 2021 elections, that he may not, provide or avoid make himself available for election again for public office.
Yeah.
Now, not long ago, there have been perceptions that he might be changing his position.
Yeah.
And then he had, come back to say one thing or the other. Those who expected him to come back will either see him come back or they might see somebody whom he'd endorse to come back. He said two of those can happen. Yeah. Many people still believe that his position is not clear.
Yeah.
Can you bring any clarity on that? What is exactly the situation?
Well, thank you very much. I think people may not understood how the party functions. And I think it's important to explain that to people.
Yes.
The position of Secretary General is not tied to, who should become candidate, flag bearer for the party. They are not. They are disconnected. They are just. I think before that you have. Sidi Jata used to serve as the president secretary.
Yeah, 92, I remember.
92 to 96.
Yes.
And even 2001, I think.
Yes.
He was the president secretary. But he was the chairperson of the party. And he's still the chairperson of the party.
Okay.
And Halifa was the secretary general of the party. But he was not the flag bearer.
Yes. At the beginning, he's not.
But if you go by party nomenclature, people always see the secretary general as the party leader.
Yes, because other parties, is what is there.
That's what is there. So, but that does not make him the flag bearer. So let's go by that spirit. That he is a secretary general and he's saying he's not going to stand in an elective position. Again, whether it's presidential or National Assembly. And we've gone through the National Assembly. You see that, it's Honorable Musa Cham, who is now, who's going to that constituency and is taking that seat. So we are going towards the presidential election. And that's why there is a lot of noise, because we are going towards it. And it is justified. If people raise those issues, you must not throw them away. So now, what is Halifa saying? Yes, you may feel that he is saying two different things, but he's saying he's taking his position. What he announced to the people, that he's not going to take, he's not going into any elective, elections again. He's not going to elections to stand for elections again. That's his position.
He has not changed that.
He has not changed that.
Okay.
So he's saying there are people who are calling on him, who have hope on him, and they are saying, no, you should change your position. And allow us to put you up again. You understand? He's saying he does not want to kill their hope. He wants to maintain their hope until we get there. You understand? Because if somebody is following you that you want to stop, if you say, no, I'm not going to stand, in his explanation, I'm not going to stand, that person will say, okay, let me look for somebody else. Because my hope is on Cham. And Cham is not going to stand. And, let me look for somebody.
Outside the party.
Exactly.
Okay.
So he said he wants to maintain their hope. That's his tactic.
Okay.
He wants to maintain their hope.
Until he writes.
But ultimately, whether Halifa decides to stand or not to stand, it is the party which is going to select somebody. And the way the party selects somebody is not the central committee that will select a candidate. It is not the Congress. We are yet to hold our Congress. We are going to hold our Congress in the next months, either in June or so.
July.
We are going to hold our. So it's not the Congress also that select the Doi presidential candidate.
Okay.
It is the membership. It's the general membership of Doi that will select. So when the time comes, the way we did it in the past years is whoever is nominated, is put on the ballot in a list. And then, forms are printed. Cham will be there, Touray will be there, Fati will be there, Njai will be there, for example. And then these forms are taken to the members across and then they have an election committee that will distribute these forms to all the members, because all the members are registered and they are known. And then they take this into the general membership. And, each member put your name there, your telephone number and your whatever credentials, you put all your details there, and then your voting card, you put all that, and your ID card, you put that there, and you sign or you thumbprint. Then when that comes, it is counted. Whoever has majority out of that is the presidential candidate. So for me, there should not be much hullabaloo when it comes to the selection of it. It's a very simple thing. And the same thing goes, the same primary happens when it comes to National Assembly elections. It's the membership that will determine who becomes their candidate. So when it comes to Secretary General, because he also promised that he was going to give up the position of Secretary General. You understand? That will have to be done at the Congress. It stops at the Congress. But the term that was given to him is 4 years. The term of 4 years is not expired. It's not elapsed.
That will go up to?
That will go up to when we hold this Congress that is coming. That is the elective Congress. The Congress we held then was not elective Congress. It was just IEC saying every 2 years. So, but our constitution is saying our Congress is 4 years. 4 years for election. So when you hold the position in Doi, it should take you for 4 years before another election takes place.
The last such Congress 4 years ago, nearly.
4 years ago, nearly 4 years ago.
Okay.
So that's how situations go. But many people don't understand this, so they raise issues. And I think the explanations are not very clear, because other people are taking us for other parties when we don't have the same constitution.
Okay. But then, of course, people still need to go home with the fact that Halifa will not be flag bearer.
Well, I'm not Halifa. I cannot tell you that. But
isn't that what they understand from his by saying I'm not going to go for elective position? They don't expect him to be flag bearer again.
They don't expect him to become a flag bearer. Yes. So they don't expect him to be a flag bearer. But if those people all came again and said it's Halifa Salah they want, what can you do now?
In that case, he will have to run.
I don't know. If I were him, it's left to you. You know, this is politics.
Yes.
Huh?
So that's a personal decision.
That's personal decision now.
Okay. Right.
That's why I cannot speak on that. I cannot say Halifa will stand, Halifa will not
So
stand.
you can only take the process that you
We
take.
can only go by the process. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So will Doi, going to the next election, be keen to join an opposition coalition?
Yes, that's another very interesting question. Very good that you raised that. Doi is always open to coalitions. You know, as long as the simple majority principle remains. Simple majority principle always supports the incumbent. It is in favor of the incumbent.
Yes.
Because the incumbent is in control of the security forces, of the police, is in control of all the positions in government, from alcalorship
Many privileges here.
to the governors,
Yes.
you know, to the IG,
Yeah.
and senior police officers, you know, to the managers, to the directors,
Yeah.
you know, and so on and so
State
forth.
machinery.
State machinery generally is in control, and is in control of the finance.
Finance.
Is in their hands.
Yes.
Huh? And so on and so forth. So which means that's why
So
they
they put all this to their electoral advantage.
exactly, and they put all this into their electoral advantage.
Yeah.
You are incumbent. Let me tell you one thing. You are an incumbent. You say, let me see what they are doing. They are saying we want 100-kilometer roads across the country, but we don't have funds. They say we don't have funds. So how do they get funds? They tell the technocrat, put your heads together. We don't have funds. We need funds to ensure that we have 100-kilometer roads across the country. Because we need to put, you know, even if it is going to be 10 kilometers in one constituency, 5 kilometers in another, it's important to those people who are there.
Yeah. Because, yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Because they're not going to put all the 100 kilometers
No,
in one place.
No.
Huh?
Yeah.
So when we put all these 100 kilometers in different places across the country,
That may translate to support.
that may translate to support. You understand? So technocrats put their heads together and they say, okay, now there is this talk about Africa 50. Huh? Africa 50 for recycling of assets.
Yeah.
And we have a new asset, the bridge.
Yeah.
Huh? Why don't we deal with the Africa? If the political will is there and they support that, because they want roads, they will support that.
Exactly.
Huh? So let's talk to Africa 50. Let's introduce Africa 50 to them, and if they accept that, let's go in for that.
And you get $100 million.
And then you will get $3.5 million in 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the Africa 50 will implement the toll
The toll.
at the Senegambia
We
bridge.
run it here.
And then you get that 3.5, and then you take part of that 3.5 and put it into road construction. Now you come again and say, let's tell the central bank to come up with a bond. And they come up with a bond and raise, you know, domestic revenue. How they call it? Domestic loan.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes. Through
So they raise bonds, and people buy those bonds, and you know, whether you know it or not, they get hundreds of millions by now.
Yeah.
According to the governor, they've raised more than $1 billion. Huh? So they take that part of that and put it, you know, from what they collected from the Africa 50, put it together, and they say 100-kilometer road across the country. So that's how incumbency work. If you want to maintain yourself in power.
So they use all legitimate means.
Exactly. And illegitimate means sometimes.
And sometimes illegitimate and immoral.
Yeah, exactly.
But all the same, they use the state resources
Yes.
to pursue political advantage.
Exactly. So what I'm trying to say is that that's what you call incumbency.
That's incumbency.
If you want to use your incumbency to your advantage, that's how you use it for political ends.
Yeah.
Even though it's immoral to do that.
Absolutely.
Or it is unethical to do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, then you have what you call, you know, that's a simple majority.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, which political party, after you have 20 political parties all stood against you,
Yeah.
you know, are they not giving you a chance to go again?
Absolutely, because
they will.
You will get the single largest number of votes.
Exactly. So Jawara has been here from 1960, I don't know, 1965
63
or 63 to 1994. Not a single party could remove him from here. Jammeh has been here from 1996 to 2016 in December. We could not remove him. We remove him because all political parties come together. Instead of having many parties against him, he has only 3 parties, two parties against him.
That's right.
You understand?
Everyone else came against him.
Yes. At a time when he is the most unpopular person in Africa because of the draconian measures that he employed, you know, the dictatorship and all that. You know all this history. I don't need to say all that. So, you know, that's how he is defeated. But even that, how many by how many votes?
What? 18,000.
18,000 or almost 19,000 votes.
Around.
So it is not easy to dislodge ruling parties through, you know, a single majority.
So those with the real.
So now, if the constitution, the draft constitution that is on, goes through, coalition building will come after the first vote. If none of the candidates get 50%.
It's more easier to force it to a second round.
Exactly. Yeah. And after that first round, you know, opposition can easily come together, knowing that Cham is the one who is going for the second round.
Yeah.
Why should I not
they would have known the margin.
Cham, I will support you.
Yeah.
You give me the ministry of this. You give me the ministry of this. You trade off.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, you agree. That is one way.
Yeah.
Cham, I will support you just to see, just to be satisfied.
Yes.
That there is a change of government so that we look at what a different government, how they are going to implement it. You know, some political parties do that.
Yeah, they do
we joined the coalition, but we did not take position.
No.
But
we are happy that you effected a change.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
We are happy that we effected change. We are satisfied.
Yeah,
so sometimes we look for satisfaction.
Absolutely.
You understand?
Yeah.
So,
which is very important.
Which means that now, the stage where we are in, to make it short, is that they will not forgo coalition. But we are looking for another type of coalition.
Not this one.
That one was gentleman agreement. So now we look for a coalition that will be somehow binding. That is my opinion. Okay. You're asking me about my opinion.
Yes.
Huh? Right. The party has not actually discussed that, but my opinion is that we can have a coalition that will be somehow binding. It will have some binding provisions.
It will not be like this one. That
it will not be like this gentleman. We've already learned the experience. Huh? 3 years is against the constitution. Then they bring those arguments and confuse the electorate.
How much keen are you?
Yes.
In changing this government as you were in 2026?
No, we are keen. We are very keen because that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
That we are looking for like-minded organizations, like-minded individuals who will not want to effect change for the sake of effecting change.
Yeah.
But they want to effect change to bring about a separate system. Know that this system that we have is so archaic. It's brought here by the colonialists. But the colonialists themselves are not, you know, practicing this system.
It is ourselves now.
It is us. They left us with this system, and we continue with the system. But they have changed a long time ago.
Yeah, they have.
Their bureaucratic system is different from this bureaucracy. Yeah. This thing is so bureaucratic that you want even to buy a needle, it will have to take you sometimes for years to do anything. You understand? Everything is bureaucratic. Not only that, but you have the budgeting system, which is giving all the money to the bureaucrats. The president's office,
all the money is going.
The president's office, the National Assembly, and the judiciary is taking all the money, and the civil servants. What about the farmer? What about the carpenter? What about the welder? What about this? What about this? What about those people? Don't get anything from the budget. And then you come and with social services, you just come and the minister was reading a budget and he said his statement, and he said they have given $1,000 to some of the disabled people. And that's a how do you call it? That's a
significant intervention.
That's an intervention. I was shocked. I said, how can you walk into a disabled person's compound and say, because you are disabled, government is empowering you, and then you give that person 1,000 to that person to sign. What is 1,000 now? You cannot even buy a bag of rice. the government.
Okay.
So, but what we are looking for is we want people who will want to effect change, will be part of the coalition, and that will be what we will sell to the people. You understand?
Yes.
What we'll sell to the people. That the budget will not be just left to the caprices of the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
But there'll be a system where the benefit of the people too will be incorporated.
So that's the kind of coalition you look.
That's the type of coalition we are looking for. System change coalition.
DOI is very instrumental in class change.
Yeah.
Because obviously, whether people know it or not, DOI actually played a pivotal role, even in terms of financial intervention.
Yeah.
DOI did a lot more than any other person.
Yeah.
But DOI, interestingly, did not, or was not interested in taking over the benefits of the change. Well, it depends on how you interpret, because DOI's interpretation and others are different. When I say benefits, people will say, okay, that is, we toiled, we put this government, we need to be minister, we need to be director, DOI did not join that.
Yeah.
We saw that DOI, has absolutely said, okay, we have effected change, that is our satisfaction now, but DOI refused to join the government. Yeah. People said, you must have had this accusation, DOI run away from responsibility.
Yeah.
Why didn't DOI feel the need? Why didn't they feel entitled?
Yes.
So what actually they have contributed significantly?
Yeah, thank you. That's also a very important question. This question came up, I think, 1 million times now, since 2016.
Yes, that's right.
People keep on asking, and it's your legitimate right to ask those questions. But you see, you started it very well. You don't necessarily go into politics to benefit.
Yeah, right.
People have to accept that also. Yes. I told you about satisfaction.
Absolutely.
If I know that if I go into this government, the policies that they want to adopt is anathema to
definitely
the policies I would want to adopt. And I know, by my standard, it will be a failure. There is no need for me to go into that arrangement.
So you always knew
We knew
that the way things are going, if you join the government,
exactly,
you're not going to last.
We know that. Because what happened is that we had come up with a memorandum of understanding, an MOU. And we said, well, there is no time there now to continue talking. Tomorrow is the nomination in 2016.
Yeah.
So since we have signed the agreement, the 3-year agreement and all that, let's put that on hold. Let's put this MOU on hold. Let's go and campaign now. Winning is more important. We all want change. We all want something good for our country.
Let's achieve that.
Let's go and achieve that first before we waste all our time here talking. Time is going.
Oh, yeah.
So we put that in the shelf, we shelve that, and then we continue to work towards the nomination day, and then eventually to go on campaign. But after the campaign, issues emerge. You see that the party leader of the UDP was in jail, and then they are all released. Now, a new exuberance is experienced. People see themselves in a new environment.
People starting to be entitled to.
Exactly. So I was fighting from 1997, up to now. So I deserve this.
Yes.
So they started fighting over the it's like the war spoils.
Yes.
Huh? The positions.
Yes.
So forgetting about the MOU, which binds us, MOU which spells out how we are going to
progress,
govern, how we are going to move, how the National Assembly is, what laws we should, is forgotten. And when we met to encourage each other to sign it, there is reluctance. The UDP, which is the biggest party at the time, refused. The leader is now out of jail, and he says he's not signing. And the president is also reluctant to sign. And so on and so forth. Other parties like NRP also said, well, if they don't sign, why should we sign? So it was not signed. So when
only DOI was keen.
Only DOI was following that all of these people went for positions, and they get positions. Now they are no more interested in the
MOU anymore.
Barrow is our boss.
Until they fell out with Barrow.
Executive system comes again. Yes. So let's go. So we see that without the MOU, we going into this thing can cause us a serious problem. So we decided to say, hey, let's be careful, Let's go into the National Assembly. This is what we have decided. Let's go into the National Assembly. If the political will is there,
yes,
they will bring bills to the National Assembly, and we can put our input. But being part of a cabinet which is not having the same spirit, you know, and encouragement with you, you go into that type of cabinet, and then you will not last. And when they remove you, they dismiss you.
Try to discredit you.
Then they start. Thank you very much. They start labeling you.
Yeah,
you know, these people cannot work with anybody. These people that. They, you know, he took this thing. He took that thing.
Yes, because
so in Mandinka we say Ndunta, Mata, and in Mandu Mumi.
That's true.
Yeah, this is why we don't want to go in. But still now people say you must go in. You must go in. You know, if you go in,
many people thought
it's going to turn out
if
the
you
same
were
way.
there, some of the things where that's happened, you might influence them not to have happened.
Well, you know politicians. Once they are in a position and they know that this is their power, if you want to dislodge them from that, they will say there cannot be two presidents. What happened between Dabo and Barrow?
Yeah, that's right.
There cannot be two presidents. You know, if you don't this thing, I will open the boss window or boss door for you.
Dump you out.
This is what happened.
That's what happened.
So, you know, don't fool yourself and say, you know, I will go there, you know, before we make him this thing, you know. It's people who don't have experience.
So, you know, it's somebody described, he said, well, the UDP grew, they molded what they told was their child.
Yes.
When the child grew up, he became more powerful.
It's the same thing. When you mold a snake in your house,
yes,
until the snake becomes big,
a python.
Python.
You either swallow your.
If it finishes your goats, your children may be swallowed by him. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So don't delude yourself and say, you know, I used to have an influence over this person, and therefore when I go in, I will maintain the same influence. No. If he sees that you are always, you know, putting pressure on him because of his interest, he will remove you.
Absolutely.
You understand? He will remove you, you know, he will dismiss you.
Absolutely.
And when he dismisses you, he will not dismiss you and keep quiet. He will dismiss you and label you.
Discredit you.
Yes, so that you will not go and
be anymore.
So we were mindful of that, and we feel that we can play our role in another way, which can be in the parliament, and that's why we went to parliament.
Good.
And I think people should appreciate that.
Absolutely, and you have done tremendously well in the assembly. Right, we don't have much time, the Honorable. I will leave you now to have a parting message to the Gambian people. As far as you know, we're going into politics again, and there are other issues around the country. People react to things differently.
Yeah.
But though I have always been measured in what it says and it preaches, and have always called for cohesion, no matter how heated the differences are.
Exactly. Yes, thank you very much, Jam, for this brunch encounter.
Thank you.
I think it's very useful. And I thank the listeners and watchers of the program. I think we should continue this. So many issues are going to come up which will require clarification. And I think we who are in the National Assembly, we are in a vantage point to come and clarify many of those things because they all pass through our hands. So we cannot say we don't know them. I think the country is going through an interesting phase. Some say it's at a crossroad, and I accept that. It is at a crossroad. And when your country is at a crossroad, you don't act the old way. You have to act in a new way. And the new way is that Gambian people must be very alert. They must be wise. Politicians giving you inducement here and there, giving you jobs here and there, all that is a way of keeping themselves there so that they keep their privileges and all this. We could have gone into so many things because how I deal with my National Assembly affairs is different from many other people, but we could discuss that maybe in another encounter. But that's where we are going. We are going into another phase in our history, which is 2026. And I believe that Gambian people should be wiser. They should look at, Gambian youth should look at, for example, Senegal. The Senegalese youth are a very good example.
Absolutely.
They have brought about change, you know, in their country without war,
that's right.
without any coup d'etat. And I believe Gambian youth also should think in that direction. You understand? They can bring change in their country without a coup. They can bring change into their country without war. You know? They can bring change into their country through the ballot box. And they should have faith in the ballot box. You understand? But bringing change in the ballot box for the sake of bringing change is useless to them. They must think of looking at the programs of the political parties. Political parties should be ready to come here and explain their programs to you. Maybe one day we will be able to have a chance for you to call me to come and talk about those political programs.
Especially your constituency.
Economic program and political program. I think that will be useful. And that's what, all the citizens should be looking at. And they should be voting based on those programs. Not on these small sentiments. Like this person steal this here, this tribe here, this thing here. What they did here. They refused the diaspora there. If you want to go by those things, you will not bring tangible change. And tangible change cannot come without the people. We are politicians, we can explain as much as we want, we can show you all the intellectual knowledge we have, but if you don't put your input through voting, no tangible change will come. And if tangible change does not come, we will live in poverty, just like Halifa always say, we'll die in poverty. And our children also will die in poverty. And it will continue. And the bureaucrats will continue to live in luxury, live in heaven on this earth. And you will continue to be the wretched of the earth. That we must put a stop to. It cannot continue like that.
Exactly.
Thank you.
In other words, to be commanders of our destiny.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Suwaibou Touray is the National Assembly member for Wooli East, and a member and chair of several select committees in the National Assembly. Thank you very much for sharing your perspectives.
Thank you very much.
And thank you all for being with us here on The Brunch. The Brunch will come back next week, inshallah. Goodbye for now.
Islamic microfinance is becoming an increasingly popular mechanism for poverty alleviation, especially for developing countries around the world. This microfinance service adheres to the principles of Islam as a form of social responsibility. Yona Islamic Microfinance is the Islamic microfinance of choice in the Gambia, trustworthy and reliable. At Yona Islamic Microfinance, we provide savings products, current accounts, financing products in conformity with Islam. In addition, Yona Islamic Microfinance also offers local and international remittances, takaful fund, management of zakat, management of awqaf, trading and investment, and building of strategic partnerships to bring financial services to the doorstep of the poor with donor projects, madrasas, youth organizations, women groups, and farmer organizations. Make a choice with Yona Islamic Microfinance today. For more information on Yona Islamic Microfinance, call 377-2151 or 9832-151 or visit Yona head office at Tipa Garage, Bakote, or visit any Yona branch located countrywide near you.
Jamano Money Transfer Bureau de Change, your go-to option when it comes to money transfer. With Jamano, you can send money from anywhere in the world to your family and loved ones in the Gambia and be sure the funds will be delivered to them within the shortest time possible. For your convenience, funds sent through Jamano Money Transfer can be picked from all the banks and multiple other financial institutions, including Ajib Bank, Trust Bank, GT Bank, Mega Bank, Basic Bank, Reliance Financial Services, and Approved Services. Visit our head office at Bruceby opposite AfricMed next to Trust Bank Limited or email us at info@jamanomt.com. You can as well call us on 310-3050 or 310-3051 or yet still 733-0688. Our opening hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday and 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. Jamano Money Transfer, your most trusted money transfer service where customer satisfaction is paramount. When you think of a simple, fast and reliable money transfer, think Jamano Money Transfer.
Agada.
Mbijan aganyadi.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la
Ha, code nyenje.
Okay. Nsila ID soto.
Ah, that's what. Sorry. Agada.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara Allah service o tariaka.
mbale.
Mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariaka.
Jannom yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere. Birin koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato ni fo bolon blabe ko.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jam.
Ha?
Gambia kono anin Gambia bantala bankol. Nka kodo kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi topoto nin kodi maraw. Jannom number 1 di nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale le dadi ma nin domorol dil fana beteat. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Wo mo yo diat.
Apelenta
Ni wo ka ni na lafta nyelen kendo le bina.
Yalo bu kanyi la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Abaraka.